precaution I do every time. Hopefully people will start to hear it. If you have a cell phone, please either silence it or turn it off. I'll wait for y'all to reach into your pockets. So I'm convening a special meeting of the Oregon City Commission for Tuesday, October 13th, 2015. Kay, you want to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner Pauly?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Mangelberg?
Here.
And Mayor Holliday.
Here. So we have general business, and the general business is 15-561.
Turned it off. I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
That's being turned off right there.
To consider the continued employment of the city manager. And before we start this, I've got something I want to say. I said we have called the special city commission meeting tonight to consider the continued employment of our city manager, David Frazier. The commission met in an executive session on Friday, October 9th, to consult with legal counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of the city regarding litigation likely to be filed, and in particular, a tort claim notice sent to the city by Mr. Frazier's lawyer. This special commission meeting was called as a result of that executive session discussion. The commission meets tonight in a public meeting as the appointing authority of our city manager. We are his supervisor. The decision the commission must make amounts to a personnel action, and as we all know, personnel matters are often delicate, require sensitivity, and warrant confidentiality. At this point, I want to thank my fellow commissioners, staff, and others who have been involved in this process in keeping it quiet to this point. To put this meeting in perspective, the city manager reports to the city commission. He is an at-will employee entrusted with the responsibilities of great consequence to our community. The Oregon City Charter requires that the city manager be appointed and continue to serve only at the pleasure of the commission. Each of us is elected by the voters to reflect their will. The city manager answers to the city commission. The city commission answers to you. Many factors can contribute to a decision. For reasons of employee confidentiality and to respect the rights of employees, the city does not discuss personnel matters. Mr. Frazier is entitled to the same respect for his privacy as every other city employee. Therefore, the commissioners and I will not discuss publicly every factor that leads to a personnel decision. It is the commission's duty to make a decision, and as an employer, we are obligated to respect confidentiality rules that apply for the benefit of all employees. There is no doubt the questions presented to the commission require us to make a decision. That is our responsibility this evening. Before entertaining a motion from any of the commissioners, I will invite comments from those of you who have asked to be heard and submitted a comment card to the city recorder. We'll call forward 2 citizens at a time and remind you to please respect the commission rules of procedure with limit public comments to 3 minutes. And looks like I have a couple. So, Mr. Herman, Mr. Mahoney. Mr. Herman.
All right, Mr. Mayor, fellow councilors, commissioners, excuse me, I'm in a different city now. In Gladstone, they're called councilors, all right?
You're the oldest city west of the Rocky Mountains, just letting you know.
Thank you. The reason I want to speak tonight was 5 years ago, I came to know your administrators, I believe about 5 years ago. And I've known many of your administrators, I think probably all of them, over the last 30 or some years, worked with them in various projects and or whatever. And at various times, David and I, Mr. Frazier and I, didn't always agree on things, especially with the Natural Resource Committee as an example, where we were trying to see some things happen that maybe, shall we say, staff didn't think should happen a certain way, and we agreed that maybe it should happen a different way. He always tried to get people together and work out the problem, and that meant a lot to me because previous administrators didn't have the time to do that, okay? I will tell you that I've spoken to him about 4 times in the last month and a half, and it was his call to me about how are you doing, Jerry, in your persecution, being persecuted. I said, well, I don't like it. I don't like being thrown under the bus. 20 years ago, I deserved to be thrown under the bus, but not for the things we've been doing for the last 23 years at that site that you know about in your behalf and Gladstone's and so forth. And he was always calling me to encourage me, and I said, well, I can't believe you have time to do this because, you know, I don't know what's going on with you, but I really appreciate this. When the folks were hanging off the bridge, I think you know the folks I'm talking about, in impeding navigation, he asked me about that. He saw an article about our youth serving, as you know, on the river cruises and all that, and he said, I'm really proud of your youth, and I'm glad they're not hanging off bridges. I said, well, you know, David, we don't hang off bridges and we don't impede navigation. We teach navigation to these young people. That's what we're about. So the reason I guess I'm here tonight is to tell you that he also said one other thing to me that is important to me. He said, you know, at one of our meetings we were trying to work something out, he and I and another one of your employees, and he said, you know, you're a Christian man and I appreciate that. And I said, David, if you only knew my background, you wouldn't be saying that. But I take it one day at a time and I try to solve each problem and try to be fair to people. And I think that's what he was trying to do in the time that I knew him, in the various things that I interacted with him on. And it was about once a month I was interacting with him on things. So whatever has happened here, if he has done something that requires his removal, that's your decision. If the determining factors don't require that, I would hope you'd have a chance to give him another chance, because I saw him giving a lot of people other chances to solve problems and keep the city healthy. And ultimately, I'm wondering what the result of his loss would be here to you at your critical time on so many projects. But that's your decision, and I respect your decision. But David was an important person to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mahoney.
Good evening. My name is Bob Mahoney. I think everybody should more or less take a deep breath. If indeed Mr. Frazier has lost the confidence of the commission to perform his duties, in my judgment, that was a personnel matter that need be considered by the commission in a personnel session dealing exclusively with that, not by way of an alleged complaint made and considered at an emergency personnel session. It confuses me to think that it had to be handled that way rather than a personnel matter. These things happen in the city manager position. It's not for the faint-hearted, believe me, it is not. Nobody is indispensable, including David and including all of you. But you have your responsibility before you. I would suggest that, and I expect that you exercise that responsibility in a reasonable manner, and ultimately confide with the people that voted you into office to let them know what's going on. If he did indeed lose your confidence, there's nothing to be ashamed about. That's nothing to be ashamed about. He did his job the best way he could. Style could be of a different nature. We all have it. And that goes with the territory. But in terms of a tactician, in terms of a person that could give municipal strategy and carry out the direction of the commission, I didn't see anything that I would be concerned with David. And I'm here to support him, but I'm also here to support the city. But don't feel that this is going to go unnoticed by the press unless you people come out and say he just simply lost our confidence. That's all you need to say. But by virtue of a complaint that nobody's going to talk about, I mean, that opens up the door of all kinds of rumors and things of that nature. It doesn't do any good to his reputation as an administrator. It doesn't do any good to your reputation as a commission. So with that, I think I've met my 3-minute requirement, but thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
You're not required to speak for 3 minutes, by the way, Bob. It's just the limit.
P.S. Did I say P.S. or P.S.?
Either one works.
Amber Holbeck and Mayor Neely.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. I'm Amber Holbeck, and while most of you know me
Is your
as
mic on? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Most of you know me as Executive Director for the Oregon City Chamber. This is definitely not an official statement on behalf of the Chamber. This is Amber Holbeck, a person who loves this community and is highly vested in this community for a number of different reasons. And I've had the pleasure of working with many city staff, several mayors, and city commissioners. And, I firmly believe that Oregon City's come a long way. I do believe that David Frazier has provided very strong leadership to get us to move our community forward on a number of fronts. However, I also belong strongly in the leadership of our city commission, you folks, and your due diligence in working with our staff to do what's right for the community. And this is not, I believe, earlier individual had said, this is not for the faint of heart. Well, what you folks do also is not for the faint of heart. And you have my support, and I know that we have a fabulous staff behind whatever this effort, whatever this decision is. And I don't think we've had any troubles over the last month or so. And so I believe that that really goes to show that it's been a seamless effort on behalf of existing city staff, i.e. Tony Conkle, interim city manager, to ensure that things continue to move smoothly. So thank you, and I'm here to support you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Mayor Neely?
Thank you. During the time I was on the commission, I had the pleasure of working with 5 different city managers, including a temporary one. I think David Frazier in that period of time that he's been serving, has pulled the leadership of the executive team, executive management together in a way that none of the others had done. He has been available to the public. He listens to people, listens to you all, of course, he has to, but various citizens have come in, and when they've had issues, they've talked to him at a great deal of time. You're going to make a decision. One thing I would, and you're probably going to do it anyway, is consider whichever way you make a decision, how it might also impact the morale of the executive staff.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Doug.
So, the ever-present Mr. Gifford and the ever-present Miss Mum. Should I say Commissioner Mum?
He follows all the same rules. Hi, guys.
Mr. Gifford?
Mr. Mayor, City Commissioners, my name is William Gifford and I live in Oregon City. I think that most of you know that this is not my first rodeo in politics of understanding how things happen, and my suspicion, just to be quite frank and honest, is that most decisions are made in executive session, and my suspicion is because this is not an executive session that the decision has already been made. I doubt there's very little that could be said tonight that would uncover any more evidence or in perspectives that you have not already considered.
Let's be clear. We don't make decisions in executive session.
I completely understand that. It's crystal clear to me. However, I do understand that you have explored as many perspectives as reasonable, and I trust all of you that you have done your due diligence. I also expect that you have explored things as thoroughly as possible. With that said, I am not planning on trying to convince you of anything regarding the decision at hand. What I'm concerned about is what happens after this. I want to make sure that if there is a change in leadership of our city, in operational, that two things happen. Is we want to make a clear message to whoever is going to be replacing, if that comes to be, that they will be treated fairly and equitably, and we have to do that by example. That is to say, with any other city employee, and I understand that there's not supposed to be any special privileges granted, every other city employee is going to have a fair severance package and due consideration for their future employment. I also want to make sure that regarding our future leadership, that we give the most severe scrutiny to the possibility of a national search for the best city manager that we can get. As far as I'm concerned, my own personal opinion is off the table. I thought we had the best city manager that we could have gotten. You obviously have privy to other information, but I just want to make sure that moving on, we do those two things. We want to make sure that we do the best we can in searching for a new city manager, and that we give the existing city manager the most fair severance package possible.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Wayne.
Commissioner Baum?
Well, I know this is a difficult time for all of you. I know where you're at. I know how you're feeling. I've been there. Not there, but I know it's a hard decision, and I don't believe that you guys have made your decision. I still think there could be room for wiggling. You guys don't make decisions in executive session. And for as many of the community that are presenting positive things about Mr. Frazier, you're going to have the same amount of people presenting not positive things about Mr. Frazier. So that just goes with the territory. But I just want to make sure you guys know that I support you, and I know that you guys are going to make the best decision for our citizens, and you're going to be a fair commission when it comes to severance package. So I have no doubt about that. You guys are very thoughtful about what you've been doing. So I just wanted to make sure you knew I supported what you were doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betty.
Go team.
Well, it's a difficult decision, no doubt.
So, one last chance. Is there anybody else out there in the audience who wants to say something? You should know by now, Denise. You should have filled out a card. Ms. Griff.
It's McGriff.
McGriff. I did say McGriff.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I want you to know that I, too, have been around and have seen city managers come and go. And I will have to say that David Frazier gets it. He is fair. He has been honest, and he has been compassionate. It doesn't mean that every decision he's made that I have personally or professionally agreed with, but that is not the point. The point is we have had somebody who listens. He is somebody who gets Oregon City and the historic nature of our community and the value that that brings to this community. We have not had that for quite some time. I think that the last time I got a personal note from a city manager here at the City of Oregon City, that goes way back, and you'll remember this, Brian, to Tom Fender. Now, granted,
Fender, my God.
Tom Fender was my supervisor, not direct supervisor, but a supervisor. Something happened in the community, and that it did not involve my work. He wrote me a personal note. I've received several in the last few years from our current city manager. I think that that says something about him. I also want you to know that he's been, again, as I said, he has been fair. He's a good listener. I have appreciated being able to speak with him. He makes himself as accessible as he possibly can, and he's well respected by his staff, and I'm talking about all the staff. I've heard some very good comments. You don't always hear, as a council, the things that people do that are good, but I make a point of telling people when they do a good job because that is important to me. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denise.
Last chance. Anybody else? Okay. So I'm going to open this up for discussion to the commission. Commissioner Shaw.
All right. So I think that we are all friends of David Frazier. Myself, probably more so of all the commissioners up here, just because, you know, David has a 2-year-old and I have a 4-year-old granddaughter, and so we had kind of play dates and we had dinner once in a while and stuff. But so this has been hard for me to separate the personal side of this and come to a business decision here. So please bear with me through this, that this isn't what we signed up for, but we signed up for making the big decisions, and that's what we have to do here. So, so in evaluating a city manager, commissioners must consider the whole picture. There can be positives. Certainly, there are many good things to be said of David Frazier's service during his time as our city manager. These must be weighed against the totality of the situation as we understand it. If trust evaporates for whatever reason, the weight of decision must go to making a change. We are privy to a lot more information than you folks are, so please trust us. I think you trusted us when we were voted in. That trust is still there, so bear with us here.
Commissioner Mangelberg.
A city manager can do good things. In addition to accomplishments and other attributes, he must also maintain a positive working relationship with the city commission and city employees. Without that, the relationship doesn't work. If we as the commission decide that that is missing, we have a duty to decide to do what we must.
Commissioner Smith?
I would like to make a motion.
Oh, hang on. I think Commissioner Pauly has something, don't you?
No.
No? Okay.
I move to release David Frazier from employment effective at the close of city's current pay period on Friday, October 16th, 2015, and that city staff hereby is directed to determine the value of all unpaid wages due to him through the close of business on October 16th, 2015, plus the value of earned and unused leave accruals, which amounts shall be paid to him in accordance with city policy and law as his final payroll payment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No? Let's call the roll.
Commissioner Shaw?
Unfortunately, yes.
Commissioner Pauly?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Mangelberg?
Aye.
Mayor Holliday?
Aye. So I have a final statement to make. Because Mr. Frazier, through his attorney, has sent a tort claim notice to the city which could lead to litigation, neither I nor any city commissioner will have any additional public statements to make about tonight's unanimous decision to release Mr. Frazier from his employment as city manager. I wish to be clear in making this there will be a press release sent out either later tonight or in the morning, which will have a little bit more information. But I want to read the last section of this to let folks know what that piece about the payment is all about. We're going to pay Mr. Frazier wages and compensation which he is entitled to according to city policy and laws of Friday, October 16th, including the value of his earned leave balance. The commission declined to pay more than $400,000 in severance to Mr. Frazier, which is called for in his 2013 employment contract. City officials believe legal reasons why that contract is void and unenforceable. Can I explain just a little bit of that?
Sure.
So when Mr. Frazier's contract was signed in 2013, there is a great body of law in the state of Oregon, including appeals court and Supreme Court decisions that say that a current commission can't bind a future commission in a contract where an employee is providing governmental functions. Mr. Frazier's contract was for 5 years. It was not brought forward to the new commission, and there are 3 new commissioners sitting here as of January. That contract was not brought forward for us to ratify or, whatever. So the point is the contract is void. And in our fiduciary duty to the city, it's the decision of our attorneys, and actually the advice on the advice of our attorneys. That's what we're going to do. So we have to take care of the city of Oregon City, and that's what our responsibility is. And so that's about all the explanation I want to give, unless Mr. Kabizman wants to.
You captured the essence.
Okay, so I didn't want you guys all going away thinking, wow, but that's where we are. Does anybody else have anything else? City manager, you got anything for us?